reached an epic point here. We're at the last filter inside of Topaz Studio 2. I'll say it one more time. In today's episode, yes, we're looking at Topaz Studio 2 again. I just want to thank each and every one of you for supporting me, for subscribing to my channel, for your kind words, comments. I'm just in awe of everyone, and I appreciate everyone, and I'm going to continue to make Topaz tutorials and other training tutorials as well, for that matter. But Topaz Studio 2 is such a great piece of software. You can do so much with it, and hopefully these tutorials have helped demystify Topaz Studio 2 and will enable you to have a lot more fun and joy in, making creative pieces of art. I know each and every one of you out there have that artist inside, and you want to bring out that artist and just create and be happy and have joy in your images, and it's just really great. But today we're looking at the texture filter, and it's a really nice filter. It's a powerful filter, and it's another one that takes some getting used to really make it work right for you. So hopefully I'll unlock some more mysteries today. And again, thank you all for joining me on The Joy of Editing with Dave Kelly. And again, all your kind words, support, subscriptions. It really helps, and it means a lot to me. And so let's get started. This image that you see here is one that I posted on the Topaz Facebook groups the other day, and I was just letting people know this was the last of the filter episodes, okay, in Topaz Studio 2. But anyway, this particular image, I used the texture filter on it, and I used impression, and I used a little tiny bit of simplify on it. And the thing I wanted to point out was, after you add textures to images, it's a good idea at times to try them inside of impression afterwards this way. Because sometimes, let me show you the original here. Here's the original. As you can see, it's just a very light background. But look at all the painterly strokes I was able to get into it by adding a texture and then running it through impression. And then I took it off the horse here, but it gave me this nice, beautiful painterly background, and I really thought it was a nice backdrop for the horse. So just wanted to point that out. The image that we do today probably will look nothing like this, but I really want to delve into the texture filter today so you know all about it. But remember, you can combine it with other filters, and that's part of the joy of editing with Topaz Studio 2. You can do all this extra cool things with your images. So let's click on the background layer here. I'll just click right here on the eyeball section, and I get my image back. I want to work non-destructively. I've duplicated the background layer so we can do that. So we're going to come up to Filter and come down to Studio and Topaz Studio 2, and we'll launch it. And our beautiful little picture will come up here of a flower. And here we are inside of Topaz Studio 2. And don't forget, up here in Help, you have the user guide. If you click on that, it'll take you to the internet and to the user guide. So if you're ever like stumped on a filter and you're like, what does this slider do? Just go to the user's guide, and this way it'll, you can go to that filter and find out what the different sliders do. Of course, you can always reference back to these videos as well. So, but I just wanted to point that out. How many times have you heard me say this? Come up to here, this section here, and click Add Filter. And then we're going to come the whole way down to Texture. And of course, we have our opacity, our blend modes, the little icon to save a preset, because you might get a really nice texture that you like. You might want to save it as a preset, so you can click here, give it a name and a description. Then we have the reset right here in case you say, man, this thing has gotten out of control, so you can click it and start again. So that's important. And don't forget you have your presets down here, and let's see how many they give us. I don't know why they're only giving us like 4 presets, but that's what they're giving us. But we're not worrying about presets today. And hopefully you'll get so confident using Topaz Studio 2, and you'll understand how all these sliders and things works, that you'll mainly use like presets sometimes for your actual image to get you started and get your head thinking in different ways, but also as just an idea of a starting point. So, and then go from there and get in there and alter the sliders and do things and change things and use layer masks and do all kind of things to your images, okay? But to get rid of the filters here, we'll just, or presets, I should say, we'll just click right here where it says presets, and those guys go away. Now, you'll notice that it defaults at 50% opacity it defaults in a normal blend mode. Now, blend modes are a big aid to you when you're using textures. You're going to find like blend modes like, for instance, multiply, linear burn, lighten, screen, overlay, soft light, hard light, vivid light. Just about any of these blend modes can give you really cool effects. And the nice thing is when you hover over these, you can see the effect that you're getting on your image. Even right there in screen, it looks kind of nice. And this is probably not one of my favorite textures right here, but this is the defaulting texture right here. And you'll notice right here you have a group. If you click this, you'll see you have a group. You have borders, custom, dust and scratches, double exposures, light leaks, and textures. So click these and you'll find. So if I click borders, you'll see we have a bunch of borders. So if I want to throw a border on my image, and when you click on these, you'll see the effect on your image. Now remember, we're at the opacity set to 50%. So if you want to see it the full strength, you have to turn it up the whole way. Okay, but it defaults at 50%. Let me see something here. If I double click on opacity, now it comes up here and it lets me rename the texture. I don't want to do that. Okay. Does it actually let me rename it? I didn't think I could do that. I double clicked here. I guess I could give that another name if I wanted to. I didn't know I could do that. Well, I just learned something. Maybe you did too. I don't want to mess with that just in case I screw something up. Okay, don't want to do that. But remember, you have all these blend modes here. And then you have the groups. And then you have, let's go back to all. And then you have the categories. So let's click on this drop-down menu. And we have, these are all the preloaded textures that you get with Topaz Studio 2, and they give you a lot. And you can also import your own textures by clicking this icon here. And you can manage your textures, delete textures, and do different things like that. So very important. So there's a lot of you out there have a lot of textures, and you can import those textures. I'll do a video just showing you how to import textures and how to manage those textures. But this video will get too long if we get into that today. Let's go ahead and reset the texture filter. Just come to this little icon and give it a click. Before we do the sliders, I'm going to show you one thing real quick. Let's take the opacity and slide it the whole way to the right. Now you'll see my texture here. Right underneath the textures right here and these little icons here, you'll notice where it says texture location. I just want to point this out. I don't use this that much, but it's interesting. See where it says foreground? The texture's in the foreground. If I click background, now that throws the texture to the background. Now watch what happens when I pull the opacity slider back. See, it starts to reveal the texture in the background. And if I go the whole way to the left, now it's all texture. Because now I'm just fading out my foreground image and just seeing the background image, which is the texture. Interesting. So let's take the opacity slider the whole way back up. I'll be honest with you, I generally work with textures on the foreground, but I just wanted to point that out. Now let's go ahead and reset the filter one more time, and then we'll get into the textures. Before we start looking at the textures, notice here we have this little magnifying glass. We can search for textures if you click it. Little search dialog comes up here. And you might have a bunch of textures in here. And already, we do get a lot from Topaz, but you might add your own textures, and you're going to have tons to look through here. And that may become a little crazy to find it. So if you're looking for a certain texture, you can just type in the name of that texture here. Cornfield is a texture. And there it is right there. And anything that has the name filled in it will come up as well. So that's kind of nice. And then we can just go ahead and delete this. I just want to show that to you so you can search through your textures. Let's come here to category. Right now it's set for all. And let me go to a group here. I always like this group right here, Meredith Images. Meredith makes some really nice textures, and here they are in here. And let's just pick through some of these and see what we like. Well, that one's nice. It gives us a nice, like a canvasy type background. Really nice. And there is Blue Grotto. Now, just because it's blue, I'll show you how you can get rid of the blue tint if you don't want the blue tint, but you might like the texture in there. But for now, I think I like this bronze glitter. Let's work with this one. Now, notice here that the opacity, and I explained this earlier, is at 50%. And of course, if you drag it the whole way to the right, you'll just see the raw texture right there. Now, of course, you can come to the blend modes, and I use these a lot. Multiply is a good one. Screen, light, and sometimes color dodge. Any blend mode can really work. So you just got to really go through and try them all and just see what you get. But as you hover over them, you'll see what change takes place there. For instance, you might go to multiply here and you might say, I kind of like it, but man, it is really dark. Well, you could just come to the opacity and slide it off. So you might say, it looks really good right around in there. And sometimes I just use it straight in the normal blend mode. And I kind of like it here in the normal blend mode. So we can add more to it or less. And, it's going over my entire image, but I can use layer masking and take it off the horse or reduce its effect on the horse. So don't worry about that, but just kind of get an idea where you want that texture to really show through and adjust it for that area. So I'm going to say maybe right around here looks pretty good. And then I could come up, well, before I do that, I'm getting ahead of myself, sorry. Now, this is nice here. We have edit. Underneath the textures here, we have these icons right here. So let's click on edit and see what it does. So with edit, we can go ahead and resize this texture. We can come and move it all around, which is really nice. And then you can hit the reset button here to reset it. You can flip it horizontally by clicking the flip horizontal icon. You can flip it vertically. Find out which direction looks the best and set it on that. You can invert the texture if you'd like. And of course you can reset it again. Now we're still on edit here. And what I want to do is take this, right now it's on image. And when it's on image, it's just going to get larger or smaller. And of course you can move it all around. But if you put it on, when you click on edit, you also have texture, image, or free. If you click it on free, then you have your choice of moving out the right side or just moving up the top or the bottom or the left side, whatever you want. And you can also rotate the texture. If you come up to the corners, see you get that little curved little icon there, and then you can rotate it. You can rotate it. Again, you can resize it. And then you can just move it around and get it just where you want it. And I might say, you know what, I like that there. And when you're happy with it, just click edit again. Now let's come down here. I already explained the texture location to the foreground or background. Now this brightness is dealing with the texture itself. So if I pull the brightness back, it's only the brightness of the texture. Okay, so there. So you can adjust the brightness of that texture, get it looking just the way you like it. You can adjust the contrast of the texture. Might take the contrast back and soften up the look of the texture a little bit. And then this is a great one. I love this one. It's detail. You can add more detail to that texture or take detail away. So you can get all kind of nice, like a little bit of a cloudy look back in there, which looks really nice. But I think I want a little bit more texture in there. Maybe somewhere around in there. Now textures will have different colors and things to them. Like see this texture right here it's blue. And this one's more cyan, and they're going to be different colors. This one's green. You might like the texture in this, but you don't like the color. Not a problem. All you have to do is come to saturation. This is the saturation, not of the image, but of the texture. Pull the saturation off, and now all the color leaves the texture. That's a really awesome feature to this texture filter. And then you have color strength. You can move this to the right, and you'll notice another slider pops up here called color. This is going to adjust the tint of the texture. So you can take the color strength up, and then you can adjust the tint of that texture by sliding the slider here. And you can go through all these different hues here. So let's find a hue that we kind of like. And I am liking that sepia look here. And of course I can give it more or less. So let me just maybe bump it up a little bit. Maybe somewhere right in there might look good for me today. And then we can come up to the texture layer and click on the layer mask. And let's get ourselves a brush. And then we can adjust this transparency to maybe take some of that texture off the horse. We may like the background, but we may not like it on the horse. So we can adjust this transparency slider to, maybe not, total black would take it off completely, but maybe I just want to take it off. I always like to just find a spot here that I think might work. So I'm thinking maybe this shade of gray here. And now I'm going to turn my edge aware off so I get a nice smooth gradient. And I'll turn my radius up. And you've seen me do this before. Make my radius a little bit bigger. And softness, I usually keep it 50. And I'm just going to start to paint it. Now I love how you get this red overlay here, which is really nice. So I can come in here and just paint away off this horse here. And I can see where I've painted already, which is really nice. This is a super nice feature on this on the masking tool inside of Topaz Studio 2. See, now I've taken it off the horse, and I like the texture in the background. So maybe I can come back here and rework the opacity here and get it looking just the way I like it. Maybe somewhere right in there. Now take a little bit of time and just stare at your image and say, do I like it? Maybe you might say, I do like it, but I want more. So you can come up to Add Filter and come and get another texture filter. And then let's go back to Meredith Images, and let's find something else. We might want to throw something else on there, like the brick wall. I don't think on this one. But I like that. Look at that nice scratchiness. But I don't like the color that it's putting into the image. But we can work with that. All right, and let's take our opacity up the whole way, and let's just go through some blend modes here. Ooh, I do like to multiply. Screen is too light. Sometimes screen is the right one, but not on this one. Overlay, and overlay is a little bit stronger version of soft light, dealing with contrast. I think I like overlay, so I'm going to click on overlay, and now I'm going to take my opacity and start to reduce it a little bit. Take it back. Okay, right around in there. Now I'm starting to lose some of the details, so I can come down and bump up the detail here. See that? My details are coming back up. Right around in there. And do I like the color? I wasn't real happy with it, so let me take the saturation off. See, now, and I might just leave it with no saturation, but let me play with the color strength and see if I can find a tint here that might work. Actually, I do like that right around in there. Then I'll come up to the texture layer, the new texture layer, and click on the layer mask. And oh, let's see. Before I do that, let me go to let's be tricky here. Let's go to the first texture layer. Let's click on its layer mask, and let me come to these three dots right here and click, and let me copy that mask. I'm going to steal that mask. Now we'll come up to this texture layer and click on texture and come down to the three dots here and say paste. See, it saved me some work. Now I could come and say down here at the bottom, I don't like what's happening down here, so let me get my brush and let me get my transparency and adjust it to where I think it should be. And of course, the radius of my brush. Turn the edge wear off. Leave my softness at 50. And I'm going to take it off down here. Okay. And right in here a little bit. And make my brush smaller. And take a little bit off of this section right in here. And if I went too far, I can slide this slider the whole way to white and just maybe fix that. So it's really nice. And I see another little spot that I might want to remove the texture. Now that I have this smaller brush, right there and there maybe. Okay. I don't mind it so much up on the mane of the horse up here, but maybe in here just, nah, yeah, maybe. And then if I say, well, I took a little too much off, I can take this a little more to the lighter side of things and just paint a little bit more back in. Maybe even a little bit more, something like that. And I like it. I think it looks really nice. Now I can click anywhere on the canvas here and see there's my before and there's my after. So I really like it. And don't forget, you also have borders that you may want to add a border to this. So let's just come up to add texture. Let's go to texture. And now let's go to our group called borders. And let's just find a border that might work. Maybe this guy right here. Ah, right there. I actually like it right there. Now don't forget, we can come to edit and we can change it, but I like that. Let's click on this third texture and just click the eyeball before and after. Gives it a nice little vignetting effect, a little border to it, and there it is. Now when we're done and we're happy with it, we can come and click on accept and go back into Photoshop. And so we'll just click on accept, and we're right back in Photoshop. And let's see, if I come to the background layer here and click the eyeball here, we can see the original, and here's our texture, and I think it looks really nice. Now also in Photoshop here, I can come to the opacity. If I say it's a little too strong, I can just back that opacity off a little bit. But actually I have these other layers on here, so let me just shut all these layers off, because I'm not going to get a true indication of what it's going to look like, because I've worked on this before. So here's the original, and this is what I changed it into. So now I can take the opacity and just pull that off a little bit if I thought I went a little overboard. But in my case, maybe I went slightly overboard. I'll take it to about 92. So here we go. Option click the background. Here's the before and here's the after. And I'm really happy with that. Well, there's texturing, and Topaz Studio 2's texture filter is one of the best in the business, and I really like it. It's so powerful. You need to give it a try. Today's episode's a bit bittersweet because we've come to the last filter. 34 filters since they've added flare. If they add more, I'll continue to update this, but we went through all the filters, and now hopefully you'll be let go and released to create beautiful images. And I love to see your images, and I always look on the Topaz users groups and see all the beautiful images that all you guys are making, and they're amazing. So hopefully these tutorials will help you to get even more creative and let your inner artist be set free. I'm going to continue to make Topaz tutorials. I'll get more into workflows, how to upload textures, your own textures into Topaz, show you some layer masking techniques, and that'll really help you out a lot, I think. And I'll do some creative workflows and show you some of the ideas that I'm working with, and we'll stay in touch, and I'm going to continue to make tutorials, so you'll keep seeing me. But today we're at the end of this Topaz Studio 2 tutorial series. So thanks for joining me today. If you like this video, please give it a like and share it with your friends. And also, if you're not a subscriber, please subscribe to my channel this way. And please also click the bell notification icon. This way you'll be informed of all the new training videos that I'm putting out. Well, thanks again for joining me on The Joy of Editing with Dave Kelly, and I'll see each and every one of you next time.